Tales from Your Server, Episode 3. Customer called the cops on me. I am a waitress at a small local restaurant, coffee shop. We have a lot of regulars and we pretty much know most of the people that eat there. Every morning this guy, probably around his 50s, always carrying a big backpack, comes in and orders a small cup of coffee. He is not friendly at all and always leaves the coffee station a mess. He even left the bathroom very dirty one time, but he never causes any other problems. Until this one day, he came in for coffee like always and left a couple minutes later, but this time he came back in about 20 minutes later yelling at me and saying that I stole his backpack. He wouldn't stop yelling and called the police on me. The cops came and I explained that this man is a regular customer and that I have no reason to steal his backpack. At this point I had to call my boss, who is also the owner of the place, to tell him that he had to come over so that he could show the security cameras to the cops. No one else has access to the cameras other than my boss and all the security footage is in his office. Boss came in, the cops saw the security footage and confirmed that I stole nothing and we banned the guy from ever coming to the restaurant again. I was so embarrassed that my boss had to come over for such a dumb thing. He was understanding though. At the end of the day it wasn't my fault. A nightmare. These 5 singles are for you. This happened a while ago, but it's one of my favorite stories of when managers actually do things right and have their servers' backs. It was a semi-busy weeknight. We had around 100 covers on the books. By 7 p.m., most of the tables in our main dining room were taken. An obvious first date sat down in my section, table 211, fairly pleasant, and I got their drinks from the bar. Came back to the table and the man was grouchy. It was like a switch flipped. I set their cocktails down and asked if they'd like to hear the specials. We're fine, okay, then. I'll give you some time to look at the menu. Went to the server station and I was stopped by my manager, who asked me if I'd ever seen Cheers. Duh, it's the best. He asked me if I remembered the guy who put 5 singles on the table. Yeah, great episode. Guest lays $5 bills down in a row and tells Carla he'll take away $1 for every mistake she makes. Carla dumps beer on the guy's head. Classic Cheers. So, manager told me that table 211 had put 5 singles on the table, in the typical lineup. Clearly waiting for me to return from the bar so they could explain their little game. He hates when people pull shit on his servers, but he wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, so he got all fancy about it and said, "Sir, we need to keep the tabletops sanitary since we are a food serving establishment. Can I ask you to put your spare change away?" So that's why he was so grumpy. Hilarious. I mentally wrote off getting any money from this table, but I pride myself on giving everyone the same service. It went okay. The man tried to do it again when I went back to the table to take the appetizer order. He said, "These $5 are for you. Every time you," and I didn't really want to hear the rest, so I decided to play real dumb and said, "Do you need me to make change for parking? I can take that up to the bar and make change for you," and started to grab it. "No, ma'am." I turned back around. "So you don't need change?" The guy said no really curtly and snatched his money back. The woman was super nice the whole time and kept giving me big smiles, and the man was outright sulking. He really thought he was gonna do something major. Ultimately, the woman paid for everything on her card despite the guy's protests and she gave me $40, a 20% tip. I don't know how that guy thought I could be bribed by a 2.5% tip, but whatever. He was an idiot who saw a scheme from a TV show and didn't understand that the scheme ended with beer all over the perpetrator's head. My boyfriend is a server at a popular breakfast place in town and gets left notes like these more frequently than you'd think. I'm noticing a pattern. Pro tip, if you have an active warrant for your arrest, then don't dine and dash. Tonight a table decided it would be a good idea to walk out on their tab, but unfortunately for them our cameras caught a very clear glimpse of their license plate number, so my manager called the cops. The cops came and watched the footage of them walking out on their bill and called the plate number in so they could get their address and drove to their house to remind them of their open tab. The cops came back a while later and it turned out the driver had an active warrant. The guy paid and thought he was done, but the cop then put him in handcuffs and escorted him out. Manager kicked out a family with kids going wild. There was a big argument in front of everyone. On Saturday I was serving outside. It's a German-style beer garden with half the tables inside and half outside. There's a river running through the middle of the outside and it has tons of flowers and plants along it. The river even has a small waterfall. Kids constantly play unsupervised and will get in the water and climb the rocks. Us servers are always getting on to them and the parents. A little background: the place is 2 years old and they're still working on the outside. Thinking of new things all the time. There were some troublesome kids playing in the plants and trampling them, totally destroying a good portion. My manager was getting increasingly frustrated, watching the madness. Servers told the parents and kids over and over to stop. Finally, I guess my boss snapped and told him to leave because other guests were complaining and that they were a liability. I didn't hear exactly what was exchanged, but it went something like, "MGR, sir, I'm trying to be as courteous as possible. Guests are complaining and you're not supervising your kids. Guest, this is ridiculous. Something, it's about hospitality. MGR, okay. That's fine, sir. Have a nice night, sir." Guest, loud yelling, "MGR, have a nice night, sir." Then our bartender hilariously goes by, with her hand up. My manager points and scowls at her like, "Seriously, not right now." It was great. The dude was being a jackass. Parents shouldn't let their damn kids run wild while they get drunk. I've learned since the incident they are going to turn a small portion into a kid area called kindergarten. The kids will not be let into the larger area unsupervised. A cop ended up searching my wallet. Cocaine. *edit, definitely missed, for cocaine, in the title *edit number 2 cause I can see how my wording could be confusing. The restaurant I worked at had its own bar section. We would have a drink and grab some food there after shift. So, this happened a couple of years ago at my old job, but I still think about it very regularly. After my shift I would join my coworkers at the bar for a drink and some food after a long day. I was 22, so I was very much of legal drinking age. So, this particular night I got all my side work done and went to the bar to get my normal drink and hang out with my 4/5 other coworkers who were there. There was this couple who was sitting a few seats around the corner of the bar. Bar was shaped in a squared U, who had literally no problem with us. Didn't say a word and I hardly noticed their existence. Anyways, I drink my drink. Another one of my coworkers, gonna call her Jill for later in this story, comes to say bye. We talk a bit and then as she leaves a few of us follow her out and smoke a cigarette. We come back in, the couple is gone, and my coworker bartending starts talking about how they started bitching and crying about how they can't believe they condone underage drinking here and how they're just so disgusted and just absolutely livid about it. So we all joke and laugh about it, and I grab another drink and just sort of brush it off my shoulder. A little while later my manager comes up and tells us we have to stay cause the police are coming cause they got a call about underage drinking here and that Jill and I were seen doing coke in the bathroom. Jill had left already, so I stayed, of course, to prove I'm of age and everything was fine. Cops showed up, we all showed our IDs, and the one cop asked if he could search my wallet because of the cocaine fiasco. I said sure, and they didn't find anything. But because of those two assholes all of us had to stay much longer than we wanted and it was just annoying and an inconvenience. Actually a happy night. My workplace is terrible. My owner is a sexual harassing abuser. I think the restaurant is in the red pretty deeply because they're attempting to cut costs in ludicrous ways and management is in a constant state of panic. Also, because most of our customers are out-of-town visitors from Europe and Southeast Asia, the tips are usually horrible. But, tonight was perfect. One of those rare perfect nights. You know, one those nights you just don't make a single mistake and everyone loves you. It's so refreshing. And I didn't have a busser tonight, so it was all me. I sold our fancy full dinner service experience, about $100 per person, to a bunch of tables. We make specialized ethnic cuisine, so there were a million chances for me to go up to the table and tell the story of each dish and how it's made and what the name of it means and that kind of stuff. I sold every single table a good bottle of wine, selected specifically based on what they were eating, and they all loved my recommendations. I sold almost every table one of my favorite desserts, and they all thanked me for it. And best of all, they tipped me for it and told my manager how great I was. 5 different tables tipped me over 30%, and 3 tables singles out the manager to give specific compliments about how amazing I was. It was just so validating. Like, I'm good at this. And some people, not all people but some, appreciate that and tip accordingly. I gave one couple on their anniversary a really special night together. The kitchen obviously deserves tons of credit too. But I crafted the night for this couple. Even a special dessert. And this other girl, it was her birthday, and I just helped make that special for her. It feels so good to do the job well and know that you improved the nights of a bunch of people. IDK, just wanted to brag a little, I guess. But also to talk about one of the upsides of being a server. Sometimes you really make people happy. It feels good to do that. And sometimes they really appreciate what you do and tip so much you know they meant it. Hell hath no fury like a squad of servers scorned. I'm a breakfast server in a hotel restaurant. Our hours are 6:30 to 10:30 a.m. with a 30-minute break, and then lunch is from 11 to 1:30 throughout the week. There's currently a large Baptist church convention at the venue next door to us, so we have been 100% booked for 2 weeks with the group. We expected a large crowd for lunch, so we skipped our breaks and tried to plow through side work and cleaning the breakfast area during our break period so we wouldn't be working through 4 p.m. Happened anyway, but that's not the point. During this time, many guests from the group came to check our times, and a large crowd had amassed to wait for 11 o'clock on the dot. As soon as the clock ticked over, they were lined up. Then the unimaginable happened. My coworker was cleaning our breakfast area and slipped on a greasy spot behind our omelet station. Her leg was completely numb and she was unable to move, sit up, stand. The paramedics were called immediately and the guests at the front of the line were told it would be a minute before we would be opening. As were managers, HR, servers, and supervisors alike, tending to our emotional, battered friend in the floor. A guest shouts from the lobby area. Hey, are y'all gonna open and serve us? Or are y'all just gonna stand there and visit? This sent our poor coworker back into hysterics as she tried to get us to go help him and not fuss over her. And I'm sure the rest of my team, were furious in a matter of seconds. I've never gotten so mad in such a short amount of time. Our supervisor managed to hold her tongue, unlike the rest of us who completely disregarded our customer service voice, and told him that we were waiting on the paramedics. He didn't even look sorry at first. Even parts of the crowd that had formed looked completely shocked at the audacity of this guy. We all stayed where we were, scowling and shaking our heads. I made good, long eye contact with him as I knelt with my hurt friend. We all prayed he burst into flames. Our supervisor talked about refusing him service, but he must have realized he was the asshole and was nowhere to be found when we opened about 10 minutes later. Other people in the crowd revealed that he was a pastor with the church group. Always keep in mind that companies don't do things like not open for reasons like, we wanted to stand around and talk. That doesn't happen. The reason might be an emergency or as little as waiting for a server to come back from the bathroom. Patience always begets better service in every single context. And most of all, just don't be a dick. It's even more awful that a pastor who acts like this is out there preaching for people to be the exact opposite. There's a special place in hell, I'm sure, but all in all, whoever you are, just don't be a dick. TLDR, pastor of a group makes a fool of himself out of impatience and entitlement, gets shamed out of coming to the restaurant at all. Coworker is okay. She damaged a nerve in the fall and is on crutches and being pampered at home. No breaks, thank heavens. Leader of the conference is likely to be contacted about this man. Tales from your manager, to the gentleman who flipped me off tonight. Because I wouldn't let you and your 3 buddies come in after we had closed for the evening. We are closed. You seem to have issues understanding what it meant when I pointed our hours out on the front door. I'm sorry that you felt that necessitated flipping me off, but we are closed. My bad. Can I have a water with Onio? I mean lemon. This happened a few months ago. Last night I was on the phone with my old coworker, best friend. We worked together in a local restaurant and were reminiscing about the time this dude word vomited onion water. I laughed my ass off for about 30 minutes afterward, and every time I went to the table I laughed at the dude whilst talking with the table. They were super cool about it, and laughed with me as they could clearly see I found it outrageously hilarious. I'm not sure why I found this to be funny, but how do you mistake a lemon for an onion? Something else must have been on this dude's mind. And I can almost guarantee that is a once-in-a-lifetime experience to listen to someone almost say, "Can I have a water with onion?" Immediately following laughing my ass off at onion water dude, I proceeded to make onion water. It actually wasn't that bad, but I'll never drink it, my coworkers and I just wanted to try it. I apologize if this isn't funny to you, but I had to share this with all my fellow servers. It's not as funny to me right now or even an hour after it happened, but in the moment that shit was hilarious. Maybe in the moment I needed a good laugh and that guy really made me giggle for a while afterward. After being stoned last night talking on the phone with my friend, we were obviously having high thoughts and proceeded to play out what else could have happened. This bitch made me giggle because she said, "Can I have a water with a ribeye cooked medium, mashed potatoes, and extra gravy on the side?" I mean Onio. I mean lemon. And when you're stoned, that's hilarious. This post is really me trying to explain how funny that whole situation was for me. I just had to tell you guys. Crappy Tipper was an awesome dude. I'm in Columbus and this last Saturday was Pride, which is always a fun day to go out, but not great to be working. I was having a pretty rough shift with the kitchen dropping the ball multiple times on a six-top who spend over $400. The last mistake they made was sending the Mr. Ribeye for their table to another one of my tables who ordered MW. The guy was really enjoying the steak when the kitchen told me there was a mistake and I brought him his correct steak, so the first became a table steak, which hell yeah, enjoy it, it was our fuck up. Turned into a $140 three-top and the guy left me $20. He was super appreciative for us correcting our mistake even though he didn't know we had made one, said the service was great, and they loved everything. This was just another in a long night of weird tables and it really sucked because I know I had given great service, and really enjoyed waiting on them. It was very surprising. Fast forward 2 hours as I'm shutting things down, the guy comes walking in the back door and apologizes and gives me $15 in cash. They had gone out after dinner and live around the corner, so he stopped in on his way back home. He realized his math was off when he got to the next spot and he was super cool about it. It was really cool and for sure made my night. I wish I could tell a group of customers something. Things to know about me. It's my first time waiting tables after being a host for 10 months. I overthink things and start worrying. I'm not great getting out of my comfort zone, but once I'm out there's no going back. I get anxiety when I'm overly nervous, and though I'm usually a loud person I turn into a mouse. I'm a 28-year-old recently single mom who initially was terrified of talking to people, but I've been able to come out of my shell, learn our regulars, take orders for the bartenders, and I finally got server trained in order to help out with TGP Expo. I was put on the floor last night and was told I was getting an 8-top, this being my first big top out of training table, and I began to think of every negative thing that could happen. They all arrive and 6 of them sit at the bar and 2 head to the table. I greet the 2 and instantly they ask me to repeat myself because I spoke too softly, and I start internally kicking myself. After about 15 minutes the other 6 realized their table was ready and headed over to sit down. They're all from New York on a business trip. They're all joyfully talking. I'm unsure when to speak at times, and I'm pretty sure they could tell I was nervous, but they were the kindest, sincerest people, who when I had to come back because we were out of something or I needed to clarify a part of their order, they were completely understanding and appreciative. It seemed like they had a great time, and at the end one of the gentlemen told me I was great, just fantastic. I know I was still jittery from nerves, shocked I got things right, but I really wish I'd told them how they were my first big top, how much I appreciated their patience and understanding, making jokes with me throughout the whole night, and giving me compliments. I know I won't always make tables happy, but they helped me feel more confident in myself as a server, and I won't forget my first ever big top. How to motivate difficult staff. So I've been having such difficulty keeping a restaurant staffed since it is so busy almost every day. The ones that only want to work Monday to Thursday easily make $5 minus 600 in those 4 days, leaving me high and dry for the weekends. Then this went down tonight. Me, Mr., but actually Mrs. Manager DS, difficult server. DS, wow, you're printing out a lot of resumes. Me, yeah, it's hard to run a restaurant when nobody wants to work Friday, Saturday or Sundays. DS, well, after next weekend I'm more available. Me, holds up 12 resumes, I think we'll be fine by the weekend after next. Kept looking for a way to convince them, without begging, to be more available on the weekends, and since I got the go-ahead to do a hiring blitz, suddenly everyone is available. I get that you want a social life, and it's important to have one, but don't brag that you go out every Friday and Saturday and then use Sunday to recover and expect me to struggle while supporting your lifestyle. Help. Tried to call out teens who stiffed me, got in trouble with my ex-boss. Yesterday was my last day at work, and I had a table of teenage boys who came in, left a mess, and zero tip. This is a semi-nice sit-down full-service restaurant in a wealthy and well-connected town. Since it was my last day, I felt okay today to post on a local town Facebook page. Hi parents, did your young teens come into restaurant name to eat lunch yesterday? I was their server. I thought you should know that, etc. A lot of people saw it quickly, and chimed in and agreed that it was awful, and they hoped it reached the parents as a lesson in etiquette to pass on to their kids. Not 7 minutes later I get a text from my old boss demanding that I immediately delete it, in a nice-ish way. I took out the restaurant name immediately, because that was dumb in the first place, but I did ask if I could keep it up with that in mind, because I thought it was important that this message goes out. She didn't want it to remain because some people would connect me with where I worked, etc. So I deleted it less than 10 minutes after it first went up. I feel really frustrated because I'm not an employee anymore, and I certainly don't want to hurt the business, but it did feel like my last big hurrah moment was squashed. I apologized and she thanked me for deleting it, but now I feel very awkward and embarrassed, and I'm worried that our relationship will be strained. What would you do in this situation? All this over 99 cents. I work at a popular and pretty cost-efficient chain restaurant. My store is actually ranked number 19 in the world, but hey, who keeps track of that? Anyway, this not-so gentleman came in this evening with his wife and ordered a steak and mozzarella sticks. I should add that his wife was a total sweetheart. She smiled at me and laughed at my jokes, and was just an all-around friendly person. Her husband, however, seemed rude and uninterested in pretty much anything. Well, the steak comes with 2 sides, and it kind of irks me when people ask things like, how much does this cost, or what are your sides? When they're looking right at the price and list of sides. This man looked at our list of sides and orders mac and cheese as a side. Right next to the words, mac and cheese, it states that there is an upcharge. I ring in the food, bring the order out, get refills. It was a slow day, so I was able to be more social with my tables than usual, and I love that. Everything was great until their bill came, at which time this man decides to call me over and make a scene about a 99-cent upcharge on the mac and cheese, saying, you said it comes with 2 sides and so I'm not paying extra for it. Like, come on man, you looked right at the menu, explaining that there's an upcharge. Despite this, and the fact that he threw a little tantrum, she takes off the 99 cents. He starts acting like this is a big win for him, like dude, maybe I should have clarified just in case you missed it, but who makes such a big deal over 99 cents? If I missed the part on the menu that said upcharge, I'd still pay it and be gracious about it because 99 cents doesn't drill a hole in my pocket. If 99 cents frills such a big hole in yours, then you shouldn't even be eating out. In hindsight, I do think I should have clarified. At least his wife was very forgiving. She actually didn't care about the upcharge and tried to convince him to let it go, but he was just so dead set on having it taken off the bill. McSweeney's, things bougie customers say to their server at an overpriced seafood restaurant on the Jersey Shore. My boss is on vacay and I'm always left in charge. I am on day 5 of 6 working days straight where my boss trusts me to just handle things. Day shift, needs to stock for night shift, tell us what we're out of, ECT. My only reason for coming in tonight was because my bartender was trained by me a whole week ago and we had some fun runners planning to come in. I had them the entire time they've come in, but my schedule has changed. I asked if there was any ranch. Nope. I have now asked 2 cooks over the past 3 days if there was ranch. Nope. I texted the owner, yes, I did. And no, I'm not sorry. Basically I said fuck you all, I'll do it. Went to find the ingredients. My cook said, I thought y'all made that. He didn't know how then, found out we didn't have enough ingredients, then blamed me. Found out the daytime bartender made ranch for her customers, but couldn't stock beer. Nor make enough to leave sauces. Heated to say the least. I've applied for another job. Have you ever called a rude lady Karen? Since Karen is the default, let me talk to your manager. Rude lady name. I am wondering if anybody has actually called a customer Karen. Not accusing them of being a Karen, just calling them Karen as if you thought that was really their name for some reason. Either you slipped up and did it or did it intentionally to try to passive-aggressively send a message to the lady to stop being a Karen. Just curious. Also, is there a default man's name for a male Karen? If so, same question lol. Bog standard story, aka please don't let your kids run in the restaurant. I'm sure everyone in the service industry has at least one if not many stories of this kind, but here's mine. I used to work in a small locally owned pizza shop in the US. By small I mean tiny. The entryway, which doubled as the pickup and order counter, was smaller than an average hallway. Same went for the other side where we did all the hot food prep and had the register. Enough room for one person to stand and maybe one to walk past. There was some seating with decent space further in though. A family came in and were eating their lunch and a 1.1 of their kids got bored and decided to run up and down the entryway. The floor would get slippery when wet, but it was dry at the time, which is good because if that was the case this would be a story about an injured child, which it isn't. But in that case, what makes this a memorable story, to me at any rate? Apparently all the running was just too much for the little boy's body to contain and the kid threw up all over the floor right in front of the only register, blocking the main exit. Of course I had to clean it up, which was lovely. That's about it. The memory just keeps coming back into my mind and I figured maybe someone would enjoy a more mundane story. Anyway, have a good one.